Up next, we have Prosper Gold, and Rory Ritchie will be joining us. He's the VP Exploration. I'm personally quite excited about this company because I want to learn more about the geological aspects of the Golden Corridor and the Golden Sidewalk Project. So, Rory, really appreciate you joining us this morning and giving us an overview. Also, the company has a very tight share structure, so there's lots of opportunity, in my opinion, to take a closer look and listen to what Rory has to say. Rory, welcome.
Thank you very much, Kai. Nice to be here. I'm just going to share my screen for everyone there. Hi, everyone. Rory Ritchie. I'm Vice President of Exploration for Prosper Gold. Prosper Gold is a mineral exploration company based in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And we're currently targeting the next world-class gold discovery in Red Lake, Ontario, Canada. We're listed on the TSX Venture Exchange under symbol PGX and on the Frankfurt Exchange under symbol 2QPA. I will be making some forward-looking statements over the course of this presentation. Please keep that in mind. Our team is led by Peter Bernier, who in 2007 founded Richfield Ventures, and in 2009, along with Dirk Templeman-Cluett, another director and advisor to Prosper, acquired the Blackwater-Davidson project, which was ultimately sold 2 years later to New Gold in a transaction valued at approximately $550 million. So back then, in the previous venture, in 2 short years, Richfield saw its share price increase from 12 cents to north of $10. Our COO, James Hedallen, has been with Prosper since its inception in 2013. He handles all things corporate finance and compliance related. Myself, Vice President of Exploration, having lived and worked in Red Lake in the past, bring relevant experience. Our board is rounded out by Jason Hines and Jim Miller-Tate. Jason's currently Vice President, Business Development and Strategy at Royal Gold, and Jim is currently Vice President of Exploration for Imperial Metals. Our advisory board is comprised of Tom Abradovich and Doug Cater, 2 gentlemen who have had a lot of success over the years. Most notably for Tom, he was a key individual behind Aurelian Resources' Fruta del Norte discovery, which was ultimately acquired by Kinross in 2008 for $1.2 billion. And Doug Cater most recently was Vice President of Exploration for Kirkland Lake during some pivotal years, 2016 to 2019. And over those 3 years, Kirkland Lake experienced a share price increase from $6 to over 60. Our cap structure as it stands, as you mentioned, Kai, tight share structure, just over 21 million shares as some warrants are trickling in, $7.3 million in the treasury, 11.7% management ownership, largely led by Peter Bernier, and 19% institutional ownership, split more or less evenly between Sprott Global, Plethora Precious Metals Fund, and Crescat Capital. 3 very good groups we're happy to have on board. Our flagship project, the Golden Sidewalk Project, situated 60 kilometers east of Red Lake, the municipality of Red Lake. Red Lake is a fantastic mining jurisdiction, a very mining-friendly part of the world, an area that's currently seeing a lot of investment, largely on the back of Great Bear Resources discovery at the Dixie project. 94% of the 30 million ounces produced in Red Lake came from within close proximity to a regional unconformity. I just wanted to touch on that statement. I'll get into the significance in the coming slides. So we're looking at the northern 2/3 of the project. The project itself, just over 160 square kilometers, so a fair land position. And as you can see, there's a number of gold prospects, historical prospects. There's a lot of high grade at surface. Most of the regional work was focused around the old Bathurst mine. That was a small high grade gold producer in the 1920s and 30s. And when Prosper took on the project, we had a different exploration concept in mind, largely predicated on being in close proximity to this unconformity. And I'll get into the details of what we now call the Golden Corridor in a little bit. We also identified a few other regional targets in 2020, which was our first season on the ground. The Skinner North target area is showing a lot of promise. We'll be following up a bit up there in 2021. As well, the E12 and Balmer Till anomalies identified during a reconnaissance survey, they remain open for expansion. So lots to follow up in 2021. But really, the Golden Corridor at this time is the highest priority target for the company. Before I get into the details thereof, I just wanted to touch on some targeting criteria that's been implemented in the Red Lake Mining District over the years, because this plays into our story. Proximity to an unconformity, first and foremost, shown in that red line there in the image. The unconformity in this instance is a crustal scale fault structure, and the vast majority of gold mineralization in the Red Lake Belt is hosted in the second and third order fault systems that parallel and are proximal to that unconformity. So that's important criteria. A favorable regional structural trend. The west-northwest trend, known as the mine trend in Red Lake, happens to align with Great Bear's LP zone. And this west-northwest trend relates to the D2 deformational event that is associated with the vast majority of gold mineralization in the belt. The Red Lake mine trend, if you're not familiar with the Campbell Red Lake deposit, it's hosted within that trend. That deposit, 27 million ounces at 21 grams per ton with some spectacular high grade, which is kind of what gave Red Lake the name colloquially anyway of the high grade capital of the world. So it's a really spectacular deposit. Composite contrast. This is really ubiquitous in all Ontario orogenic gold systems. The idea here, you have two rock units of different competencies juxtaposed against each other. As the greenstone belt is getting squeezed, one unit is bending and folding, while the other is cracking open and forming vein systems. You see this at the LP zone at the Dixie project of Great Bears, whereby the felsic volcanics up against the mafic volcanics are the more brittle of the two, and as a result, hosting the vast majority of gold there. And you see this at the Red Lake Mine high-grade zone, where you have ultramafic volcanics up against mafic volcanics. And in this case, the mafic volcanics are the more brittle of the two, and that hosts a lot, well, really all the mineralization, 99% of it anyway, and it has some spectacular grade in that high-grade zone. As far as geophysical expressions you want to look for, this is really, again, ubiquitous in orogenic gold systems, certainly in Ontario. Magnetic lows and resistivity highs, ideally manifesting as lineaments. Magnetic lows are a function of magnetite destruction associated with the carbonate alteration that envelops the deposits. And the resistivity highs are a function of silica alteration and quartz veining that typically hosts the gold mineralization. So these are all things you want to look for. These have all been common targeting criteria in Red Lake since the 30s and 40s. And we're just kind of taking it over, taking the ideas to our project. And fortunately, these are things we see at the Golden Corridor. We see these resistivity high, magnetic low lineaments that are coincident and parallel and proximal to that regional unconformity. We see the favorable geology whereby you have mafic volcanics sandwiched between ultramafics and gabbros. And now this is all underpinned by pristine gold grain and till anomaly we identified in late 2020 that is looking highly encouraging. So we call this the Golden Corridor. There's a lot of size potential we feel at this part of the project. 5+ kilometer prospective corridor, now supported by a 3,300 meter by 500 meter pristine gold grain and till anomaly. One other thing I'd like to point out before I move on, you can see in that image on the right there, there's a bit of a curvature or a flexure in those lineaments. You can see in the magnetics. And this just lends itself to further opportunity for dilation and associated hydrothermal fluid flow and hopefully gold mineralization. So the structural setup is really ideal, as well as the geology and the geophysics. It all looks good. Touching on the till samples and the significance thereof, the 3,300 meter by 500 meter till anomaly is open for expansion still. We haven't closed it off. We just got chased out by the snow. It's open to the east towards that E12 anomaly, and it's open to the northwest along the corridor. And some of the samples in that survey are pretty exceptional. Sample UC13, I've shown a couple pictures there on the right. 882 gold grains, 110 grams per ton gold. 100% of those grains are pristine, which is significant. I'll talk about that on the next slide. So the implications of the till sampling survey, the size of the till anomaly, and the pristine nature of the grains suggests there's strong potential for a sizable deposit in the nearby vicinity. And the size and abundance of the gold grains themselves suggest strong potential for a high-grade vein type source. And another thing you can take away from the results is you can assume, at least in part, the gold mineralization is near surface, given that the gold grains are derived from the bedrock till interface. A gentleman, Stu Averill, kind of wrote the book on till sampling in Canada, and over years of collecting empirical evidence and a number of case studies unknown deposits. He came up with a bit of a formula. You can deduce the distance of transport based on the morphology of the grains. So this is helpful when you're actually trying to target these things with a drill. The idea, as the glacier moves along, scours the ground, and the further the glaciers drag those gold grains, the more rounded they become. So pristine grains, which are, have intact crystal faces and all those ragged edges are preserved, he deduced that those haven't traveled much more than 100 meters. So if you're seeing pristine gold grains, you're very close. So he's given us a good third-party validation. He's quite encouraged by the results, as are we. 2021 exploration, we have IP crews just finishing up right now, mid-May, so May 15th, one short month away. We'll be starting our 10,000 meter drill program, and this will be the inaugural drilling program at the Golden Corridor target. So we're very excited, and we're also going to be doing a bunch of reconnaissance, a bunch more infill till sampling and reconnaissance till sampling, as it seems to be working well on the project. So this sets itself up for some positive news flow, hopefully beginning in early May, and really we're kind of preparing, or at least to some degree, we're quite optimistic. So we're preparing that if we have some joy, we're going to keep drilling it, and we're able to drill through the winter. It's a road access project, so logistically, it's quite straightforward. If you have any more questions, feel free to reach out to Peter Bernier, Pete at prospergoldcorp.com. Or myself, Rory, that's RORY at prospergoldcorp.com. And yeah, thanks for your time. Appreciate it. I'll take some questions now.
Rory, appreciate it. Thanks so much for running us through the story. And we do have a question in the chat that I'm just going to ask right here. And what did the historical DD holes at the Duncan 2 target show?
Yeah, pretty much what they show on that whole northwestern portion of the property. You're getting an ounce over a meter type stuff. So the grade was there. It was really the tonnage and perhaps the continuity they had a hard time putting together. But the Duncan 2 is an old mine as well. There's a couple shafts there. I'm not sure exactly what they produced, but yeah, just too skinny. Just couldn't put together the tonnage.
Interesting. Okay. And now with the 10,000 meter drill program, maybe just to repeat, like, where are you targeting first? Like, how are you distributing the holes?
Yeah, it's really going to start at the Golden Corridor. For example, the first hole will be within 50 meters of that really highly anomalous sample, that 882 grain sample, because of the 100%, the fact that the grains are 100% pristine, you're very close there. And also that's the most up ice extent of our anomaly, which is traditionally how you kind of trace these things back to the source. So we'll start around there, and then really it's just a matter of stepping out laterally, seeing what we got. And as I shown in some of those maps, there's a couple lineaments. So it's really that whole corridor has to be tested. And then as the infill till sample results come in, maybe we'll step out even further, assuming we have some joy.
Okay, just to reconfirm, you're fully financed for this program, correct?
You bet. Yeah, 7.3 million in the bank. This is probably around $2 million, maybe just over, now that costs are going up, things are so busy. But yeah, so no problems there. Yeah.
Okay. Last question. Do you have any lab time secured or anything, or do we have to wait 4 months for some results?
You know what? We actually made a point of when securing a lab of turnaround times being being a high priority. So they've told us 2 to 3 weeks. So I've thrown it out there now, but we'll see how that goes. But I think the lab we chose, they're going to work hard, given that they know we're onto something. They're going to work hard to meet that 2 to 3 week turnaround.
That's a fantastic turnaround time. Great. Rory, thanks so much for joining us this morning. It's fantastic learning more about the Golden Corridor. Really appreciate it. Good luck drilling.